Welcome back. Child abuse and neglect, unfortunately, are common. At least 1 in 7 children have experienced child abuse or neglect just in the past year. April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and today we have our 9 News parenting expert and child psychologist, Dr. Sheryl Ziegler, in to talk about it. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So first, talk about what constitutes child abuse and what ages are most affected.
So child abuse is the intentional act when you do something to a child or don't do something to a child, and which results in physical, emotional, sexual harm or neglect. And actually, in the majority of cases, these are usually neglect cases, neglect to take care of a child. Children, really sadly under the age of 3 are most at risk. And when we're talking about results of abuse or neglect that result in death, those are usually under the age of 1. Those are infants.
Oh, it's so terrible. What effects do abuse and neglect have on children?
So abuse and neglect is considered what we call an adverse childhood experience, and this has lifelong implications usually. So we see things like depression and anxiety, PTSD, difficulties in having relationships in the future, even economic struggles. So there's really a host of really adverse childhood events that happen when children are abused and neglected at early ages.
What are the risk factors to watch out for?
So some of the risk factors for families include being in poverty. So just when we know there's housing insecurity, there's food insecurity, when children are under the age of 4, when families have their own histories of abuse, neglect, substance use, and children with special needs. So when families are taking care of a child who have any kind of physical or mental disabilities, that puts them at higher risk.
What are some protective factors?
So protective factors, what that means is just what helps protect against this happening to you as a family. And so some of those factors include parental resilience, meaning that you know how to cope with things. When there's adversity, you've got some tools that are healthy to deal with those. Social connections are really important. So you've got a community, you've got people to support you, you have people that you can go to when you're stressed out or frustrated. Stronger economic supports, and that's on every level. So that even means that within the community that we have resources to provide these families, because what we know, the research says, is that if families can be given more supports, oftentimes that's when we see this abuse and neglect go down. So a lot of times it's around not having economic support, and also alternatives to corporal punishment, just meaning if you were raised being spanked or hit or neglected in any kind of way, you're more likely, unless you change those patterns, to do that. Right. So really providing that education.
It's really a tough topic, but I'm glad that you came in to talk about it. Dr. Ziegler, thank you. And if you suspect a child under the age of 18 is being abused or neglected or is at risk for abuse or neglect, you can always call the Child Abuse and Neglect Hotline. It's 844-CO4-KIDS, and you can make a report there.